So my name is Damlola Yunisa. You know me, and this is my guy, my friend, a very amazing person. So introduce yourself. Let us know
Man,
you.
you know what's funny? Usually, I'm the one or the other end of this kind of thing, telling the guests to introduce themselves because I've been running a podcast for a very long time. And
Yeah.
in the span of running that podcast, I think I've been invited to other podcasts maybe 2 or 3 times. So I'm not very used to this, but I'll try. My name is David Chuka. I like to call myself a tech personnel. And what that means is, well, my background originally, I started I got into tech through software development and whatnot, but I feel like since then I've done a number of things, right? So I like to call myself a tech person.
Now you are being humble. Please don't try that. We don't do that here.
I,
We
I don't
don't
I
do
don't
that.
I don't know what it's talking about, guys. I don't know. But yeah, I am someone that, loves tech and loves to talk about tech and also, incorporates tech in a lot of the things I do in my life. What else? What else? What's there to know about me? Is there any fun facts? I'm not sure. But yeah, maybe as we go on, as Dami asks me more questions, I'll probably be able to like respond and stuff. Edit and stuff. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
So I'm safe on that.
yeah.
Okay, so
All right,
now
no
I
wahala.
really want you to talk about your background. I mean, your family dynamics and everything. I can't imagine, or do I say I can't imagine, coming from a family of an artist? I don't know what your mom did. I don't know, but I know of your dad. But your dad, your brother, amazing, like social science. I don't know. But
Yeah.
you, how did you become an engineer? Like, why did you choose the path?
Well, this is an interesting question because no one has ever asked me this actually. So for those that don't know, my dad is a professional visual artist. So he paints, he draws, he sculpts, right? And he's been doing that for over 2 decades, over 3 decades, like for 30 years plus now, right? So and then my brother is an actor, right? So he's the one on the screen, right? I'm also on screen, but not in that light. Basically in my house, and also my younger sister is also studying to she's also in the performing arts department in her school currently. So in my house, I am the only person in my house that ended up studying a science related course. All right, that means I was the only one that went science class. So my dad, my mom, my sisters, my brother, everybody went to either arts or social science, commercial, and all of that, right? How did I end up becoming the science guy? I honestly do not know. But I think I've always been fascinated with technology and engineering, right? Ever since I was a kid, like, okay, how did they create that? And how did they put these parts together to make this? I think that really played a major factor in me going ahead to choose science. And in my household, everyone looked at me like the smart kid. And mind you, I used to draw as a kid, right? I had a sketchbook that had all the Ben 10 superheroes and Disney princesses. Like I used to draw a lot. I used to go for art competitions in my school when I was still in junior school, right? Until I got to senior secondary, and that's when you have to choose a course. And I was like, oh, I want to do science, right? And I also used to act as well. Like I was a part of the drama unit and all of that. So I've done the artsy things, right? But that has also kind of led me to pursue technology and apply those things that I've learned from doing the artsy things into tech and stuff. So yeah, I honestly do not know the answer to that. I don't know how I got here, but in my house, I'm the one they look at. I'm the one they call when the TV is not working because I'm the science guy. So
Yeah.
I guess that works.
That sounds good. So you started content creation fully recently. I don't know how long you've been
Yeah,
doing it for, but I started seeing it
yeah.
recently and I was like, oh, this dude's storytelling is just like way off the charts, man. Like
Thanks, man. Thanks.
I'm always catching up. You know the funny thing, the way it's laid down, it's structured, and it's not something maybe ChatGPT just generated for you to just run through. It's really intuitive. So I loved it. So how do you come up with that?
Okay, good question. And thanks, by the way. That's a great compliment on my
Uh,
end. So, to be honest, I'm going to be very honest and transparent. Storytelling, I think, is something I probably get from my dad.
Mm.
My dad is one of the greatest storytellers to ever exist in this world. My dad can tell you a story about whatever it is, and you get very mesmerized. Right? I think I think how I approach it is, so very recently I started to lean into creating more content, right? Things I find interesting, and I'm just like recording videos, editing them, and putting them out. And when I started, I did a bunch of research, how to make it on YouTube, social media, how to grow followers, and all of that, right? And I think what gave me the big push to really go forward was I had a funny video idea in mind. I did that video idea. I posted it. I don't know if I went to sleep, but let's say I went to sleep. I went to sleep. I woke up and my phone was buzzing. So that video currently has about 60K views on TikTok or something, right? And someone took that same video, posted it on Twitter. Same video, right? But it didn't have my watermark. I had to like, oh, bro, give me credit. That's my video. Someone took that same video, posted it on Twitter, and the video had like 200 and something thousand views on Twitter. So I think like a lot of people resonated with it, like they found it funny and they really vibed with it, right? So I think that was my cue to like, man, I should probably take making videos more seriously. So the storytelling part of it and how I come up with ideas or the process for my videos is that first of all, I've said my dad, right? So I think as a kid, I used to write a lot, right? And this is also because of my dad, right? So my dad would write. My dad is a very good storyteller, but he also knows how to like pen words down. He can literally translate what he has here, right? So I think every great artist needs something like that, right? So my dad would write. He'd write maybe a letter, or he would write maybe just anything, right? And then he would give it to me to go and type it, right? Because my dad is probably not going to sit down for hours typing and stuff. So
I
I'll
be,
take
yeah.
I'll take I'll take that paper and then I'll go to cyber cafe and then I'll start typing. So at a young age I started to learn more words, or just like there's a flow, there's a rhythm to the way somebody talks or the way they create or the way they try to pass an idea down to you. And so that was how my writing started to get better, because I was just translating what my dad had written on paper onto
Yeah.
the computer screen, right? And I think that really shaped the way I started to communicate ideas, because I'm trying now, but I did not read much as a kid, so I'm not going to say, oh, because I read all the novels in the world, that's why I know how to know. But because of that, I think it really helped. And so for my process, really, like I think everything comes with a great idea. If I get an idea, I know that there's a way that I can translate this in a way that people are going to understand or kind of like just resonate with what I'm saying, right? And like just like I said earlier, I think there are lots of rules around storytelling, like the three part storytelling, the setup, the middle. I can't remember what the middle is, and the payoff, right? But I subconsciously use that. But for the most part, I think I look at every story or every script or every video I make as a reading type thing, right? It has to flow, right? If you're at a party and the DJ is making music, and the transition is weak, they go from Rema to Fireboy and it doesn't really click. You'll be like, oh, who is this DJ? So
This
I think every time I write something and I read it again and I'm like, this reading is not, I have to rewrite it. So I like to think of it like that. But I think for the most part, I would give credit to growing up and writing a lot. So I lean into writing. Writing is a big part of my strengths, right? I may not be good at editing or video or creating the videos, but I think if I can write a good script or a good story, right, and I can communicate that idea, I think it will stick.
interesting.
Yeah.
So what I'm
Yeah.
getting is like you learned a lot from your dad while growing up.
Yeah, shout out to my dad, man. He's the OG.
Shout out to you, man. Shout out to you. Um, I would really like to know what other things did you learn from your dad while growing up that shaped, the way you see life or, your career and all that.
Man, this one I cannot say. I don't think I learned it well because it's still something that I sort of struggle with. Well, my dad also has the craziest work ethic I've ever seen, like in my life. Like when I say someone has work ethic, like someone is dedicated, right? My dad said he wanted to draw and paint like 5 or 10 different artworks in a day. All you know is that you will not see him. You see him in the morning. You say hi, good morning, blah blah blah, and then you will not see him till night because like he works very hard, right? And I used to say, if I had half of my dad's work ethic, not the full thing, no, just half, I know where I'll be in life because he's a very hard worker. Like he works really hard. He works tirelessly at his craft, right? It's something I really admire. Like he's someone that if he's determined to do something or get something done, like just leave it to him and stuff. So
Wow. Wow, interesting. Okay,
yeah.
we met, I think, in 2029, in 2019, right?
2018 actually. 2018 November ish.
No, oh my God.
Either October,
It's been,
November.
it's been a while.
It's been a while, man. 7 years, yeah.
You were still the software guy. It was still like, I want you to tell me the story of how you know, entered into software engineering field, and where you are right now, and what shifted, what changed, what's the transition, just tell me the story.
Oh, okay. So I met Dami in 2018. Dami is our host, by the way. Give it up for Dami. I met Dami in 2018 for a Django Girls boot camp. So for those that don't know, Django Girls is a training boot camp where we educate girls. It's exclusively for females only, for girls only. And we educate them around the Django framework. So Django framework is a Python. Django itself is a Python framework, for building web stuff and all of that. So at the time, I had just finished my internship, right? I'd been writing Django at that internship, and I just finished. I saw the opportunity to volunteer as a coach at Django Girls, and I took it. Right, this is the first time I'd ever been to Malete in my life. I went on that road trip by myself and just kind of like met all these amazing people, some of which I'm still very good friends with till today. And it was a really life changing experience because that was the first time I was ever teaching anything. Even though I stumbled a bit at the beginning, I started to like find my legs, and I was like, oh, I think I really enjoyed this. So how I became that engineer person is, I think I knew I wanted to build software since secondary school, right? So I'm a little privileged here. I'm going to be honest, but in my secondary school we had a web development. Should I say? I don't want to. It was part of our what's it called? What's the thing? Curriculum, right? So I think in SS1 or SS2, I think SS1, they taught us like, web development stuff where at the time we had a computer in the house, right? So in school, when we come to the lab, they would teach us HTML and CSS. That time, it wasn't even HTML5, it was HTML4, I think. And the CSS, I don't know what the CSS was, but this was a long time ago, Sha. And it teaches that, and I really started to enjoy it, right? Because also when I got home, I could practice because we had a computer at home, and I started building like dummy websites, right? They're just building a bunch of rubbish, like static websites. There was nothing going on, but I was building static sites with HTML and CSS. And when I finished, I'd show my instructor. So the people responsible for this, the New Horizons. I'm glad to see New Horizons is still active till today. But what they were doing at the time is they would send a bunch of instructors or people working at New Horizons to different secondary schools, right? And they would like fuse with the ICT subjects at the school at the time and teach that. So after that, I was like, man, I think I am pretty good at this because my ICT instructor at the time as well, Mr. Dewale, I still remember his name, even though I don't think I've spoken to that man in almost 10 years. But I still remember his
Wow.
name. But he took a liking to me because he started like calling me to the computer lab when I was like free during my periods, and would like do some HTML or whatever stuff, or even help work on some slides or whatnot, right? And I think it was pretty interesting, and I realized how much I enjoyed being able to think of something, put it on screen and have it pop up. right? So that was really nice. And then after that, I kind of was thinking, oh, what's the next step for this? It's all fun, it's all good, building static sites, but like, can I take this to the next level? And that's how I discovered Python, right? And the Python community was the first community I ever joined, and I'm still a member today because there's a lot of nostalgia there, but it was really helpful. Like, I've not felt connected to any community like I felt connected to PyCon Nigeria. But before I even found PyCon Nigeria, I found Python. I think I read this book on Python called Learn Python the Hard Way. I had to read that book twice because the first time I didn't I didn't understand what I was reading, right? But it was a lot of self-learning. Got a course on Udemy. At this point, I think I just spent 1 year in university at this point, right? But it was a lot of self-learning, right? I got a course on Udemy that taught me Python and Django, and then in 300 level, we had to go for our internship, and that's when I started applying. I did not have any crazy projects, right, on my resume, but I had been learning Python, I'd been learning Django, and I was like, oh, I'd love to work in a place that can help me further my learning, right, and apply my skills. And I ended up getting an internship at Tuteria, and that was where I worked for like 6 months, right? So it was after that internship I saw the opportunity for Django Girls in Kwara State University, Kwas, and then I applied. And when I got there, it was cool. It was cool. I applied as a coach that I would just be helping around. Funny story. I ended up teaching. Django Girls, and it was such an interesting experience for me because, like, it's so funny. But I was at the Django Africa conference
Okay.
in 2023. This was in Zanzibar, Tanzania, right?
Okay.
I was in DjangoCon Africa, and I went to a Django Girls workshop. I wasn't teaching. I just went to, like, oh, what I guess in. Mind you, since 2023, by 2023, I had not touched Django like for a very long time because I started doing more JavaScript stuff, and I still remembered a lot of the things that I helped do in
Yeah.
2018. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool that I still remember this stuff because I helped some girls with their code and stuff. Like, some things were breaking and all of that. I was like, oh, why not do it like this, do it like this? And it just made me remember my Django Girls experience back then. So that is kind of the story of how I knew that I want to kind of do this tech thing more, right? And the story just kind of progresses from there.
Wow. So so good, man. Okay, so so I need to tell you this. That was when my life changed too.
Oh,
From that
really?
Django Girls experience. I'm telling you, like, that Django Girls experience changed my life. So from there, everything just followed. Like, we became Google Cloud, what's it called now? Google Cloud trainer.
Okay.
Yeah, myself and Oba then.
Yeah.
So we started training people on how to use good computer engines and, GCP.
Nice. Nice.
From there we went to For Loop Africa, we went to Ingressive
Yeah.
Ambassador.
Yeah.
While being in the university system, we could, get this as ambassadorship, and companies like that wanted to,
Yeah.
make themselves known and have a community in each universities, and it's really
Mm-hmm.
helped us grow. And I think, yeah, I get you, man. I get you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you became a software engineer, and how has it been so far? The experience of being a software engineer, and how is the pay for people who don't know how the pay is, and how is the stress level? And you mentioned now that you read a book on Python and you read it over again. People don't know, like, the roadmap, you know.
Yeah.
So let me start from here, then we'll go to the other question. How has it been
Okay.
as a software engineer first?
So, full disclaimer, Dami knows this. I'm not fully doing, core software engineering anymore, right? And if you see my videos, you'll be like, this guy. But, like, I've lived that life, right? I've experienced that. I have, like, that's like my background, right? The truth about, software engineering, and I think tech in general, is just that, look, will I get cancelled for this? I don't know. Hopefully not. A lot of people say this, right? And a lot of people do not like to hear it, right? But the truth is, when people say things like, if you are just getting started in tech, forget work-life balance for now. There's a lot of truth in that, right? There's a
Yeah.
there's a there's a lot of work that you have to put in, that you have to do in the initial stages of your growth, of your development, of you trying to start this thing, because it's a completely new thing to you. Like, you have not sat down for 10 hours writing if statements or, angular brackets. Like, there are a lot of things that you're going to have to learn to do, right? And I'm not saying don't take care of your health or whatnot. Like, please do take care of yourself, but just know that, like, it's a grind, right? It's a lot of work, and for the most part, the effort, the benefits at the end of the day, like the reward for all the effort and all the work you put in is worth it, right? Growing up in Nigeria, you know that in a lot of ways the odds are stacked against you, right? Because not just growing up in Nigeria, growing up in Africa in general, right?
Yeah.
We, yeah, sometimes you hear conversations around, the global population or the world, blah blah blah, and they talk about Europe, America, Australia, and like Africa is not the conversation. But I think what tech and software engineering has been able to do is they've been able to provide a lot more people with global opportunities without them having to study 7 years in the university to become a doctor or to become an engineer or to become, I use the term engineer like mechanical, electrical, or anything, right? And it's really interesting. Like, some people have lives now, right, that they would have not have ever dreamed of because of technology. Because you are able to create something that can live in everybody's hands. Like, this is the most powerful tool right now. Like, if you can create something that you can distribute and your work can literally live in everybody's hands, is completely insane. So I think that's the power of it. It's a grind. Sometimes I tell people that I know somebody that I can tell who is going to when people come to me and say, oh, Chuka, they want to get to tech, blah 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 blah. I can almost always tell within the first couple of weeks or days the person that is not going to that is going to quit, right? Because trust me, like, there are things that you have to do, right? There's a kind of attitude you have to have in order to get better. Things are way different now with all the AI stuff, right? So congratulations to everybody learning how to code now. Really, congratulations to you, because things are way different now. No, it's vibes, right? But I will still encourage people to try and learn how to actually code without all the AI work, without the AI help, because I don't know, it just makes you a better developer, it makes you a better engineer overall, right? But I'm being so serious when I say it's a grind. Like, you have to make a mental note with yourself. Like, look, I'm going to have to work hard at this thing for a very long time, or for this amount of time, if I want to see results, right? There was a time I was writing code in the dark. What I would do, I did not even have money. What I would do is I would solve for midnight plan. Back then, when MTN had midnight plan, I don't think they do that anymore. But I would solve for midnight plan so that I'll be able to watch tutorial videos, right? And then I will write code, or like from that period to like maybe 3 in the morning. Then I'll go to sleep and I'll repeat, right? Because they're just sacrifices and things that I had to do, right? But trust me, the reward at the end of the day, most of the time, right? Because sometimes it boils down to luck, but most of the time, the reward is absolutely worth it. I was sharing a post with my guys the other day about, I don't know whether it's Meta. But it's a company currently, that they offered $1 billion to a software engineer. I hope you can see this. I'm going to try and show it here. All right, great. So now imagine that, right? As a person, there are companies fighting over you. So the upsides in working in an industry such as this is really high. Trust me, it's really high, right? There are salaries that you are going to make. There's money that you're going to make that probably in your family nobody has made that kind of money, right? Because the industry is an industry that really pays well. But you have to solidify yourself as somebody that is knowledgeable and knows what they're doing. Like, they are very, very aware of their craft and the amount of work needed that they need to put in their craft, because you are one engineer. This tech stack that you know and the things that you know, 1 million other people know it. So why should another company care about you? or care about what you bring to the table, right? So that's going to take a lot of figuring out. You're going to have to figure out what kind of engineer you are. And to figure out something like that, you need to give yourself time. You need to be patient with yourself, and you need to actually put in the work. So yes, if it's money, if it's opportunities, right? If it's traveling, if it's meeting people, tech can definitely give you that, right? The steps you need to take to get to that point, right, in time is they are very necessary steps, and they are not completely easy steps, right? But if you really want it, you're going to have to go after that. So, yeah.
And I really hope people would listen to this and
Yeah.
everything you just said because it's really the truth. I mean,
Yeah.
Microsoft fired like 3% of their employees recently. You saw the
Yeah.
post.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that.
You're just getting into tech, and a lot of tech professionals are like fired already. Like,
Yeah.
where are you coming to? Like, I was
True.
just thinking, like, that's a lot of people who are already back into the job market trying to look for a job,
And they have
and
way more experience than you.
way more experience. In fact, they work for Microsoft. Anyone would want to employ anyone who is work for Microsoft.
Yeah.
And that was huge. But also resonates with the fact that you said whenever you meet people for the first time and they say they want to get into tech and they're trying to learn, you could know if they are going to
Yeah.
make it.
Sometimes I can tell. And it's not a shade to anybody, but
No, man, it's not. It happened to me recently. I teach a cybersecurity cohort right now, at Lancet Hub, and basically, there are about I think 8 to 10 people. I'm not really sure of the number right now. They keep increasing.
okay.
I don't know. So
Okay. Is it free?
basically, it's free. So we do that,
That's nice.
the free version. Then,
Yeah.
once a week. Yeah, once a week we do the paid version. That's different class. So basically, when all of them come into the class after the whole class, I'm like, two people will finish this program, and I'm for real. I just know because you give them assignments, they don't come
Yeah.
up with it.
Exactly.
Yeah, maybe because it's free, I don't know. But even if it's
Yeah.
paid for, I still think these guys would not.
Yes. Yes.
Because even the guys paying, they don't really, they make
Hmm.
payments and afterwards, maybe 3 weeks, they lose their
You don't
energy.
really hear from them. Yeah. It's a very unique thing. Dedication and commitment to something is, I'm not going to lie, I think a lot of times is mental. I think it's a mental thing, right? Because if you want to be committed to something, and I'm telling you, I'm speaking from someone that has tried commitment and has failed, right? And other times I've also succeeded, right? But if you're thinking, every day you're going to be motivated to do something, then you're kidding yourself. One day motivation is going to die. The vibe, the energy, is just not going to be there. Like, what are you going to do then? Like, these are things that we hear all the time. It's even sounding cliche as you say, but it's just the absolute truth. The reason you hear it all the time is because it's true.
Yeah.
It's just the truth, right? And I don't know, sometimes maybe it takes a very significant thing to happen in someone's life before they can commit and do something. But what you said is absolutely right. Like, when you say two people are going to, it's just the truth. Like, nobody should feel offended, right?
Yeah.
The people that are not putting in the work, that are not willing to, do those things, are eventually going to fall out, right? But you see the people that are committed and they keep showing up and whatnot. Those are people that, and the truth is, if it was easy, everybody would do it.
Yeah.
But you see those people that are showing up, it's clearly not easy for them. It's clearly not easy for them, right? So yeah, it's just the truth, man. It's sometimes it's something you have to just tell your mind that, look, no matter what day it is, no matter what time, I'm going to do this. I'm going to show up, and your body may not agree with you all the time, but
Yeah.
you have to make a promise to yourself and get used to the habit of not breaking the promises that you make to yourself.
Whoa. Word.
Yeah.
Word, man. Now, talking about content creation and the new rebranded David Chuka. Tell us about the
Yeah.
new and rebranded David Chuka now.
Okay. So in 2020, I got my first gig to write, my first paid writing gig. it was really interesting for me because like I said, I've been writing since I was a kid. I started keeping journals as well a long time ago. I don't know, some people have a weird vibe towards journals, but journals help me a lot because a lot of stuff goes on here, and being able to pen down how I'm feeling or what is going through my mind is like therapy for me. Right. So in 2021, I saw a gig for a technical writer, content creator type thing, and I applied and I got it, and I wrote my first article that I got paid money for. Right, foreign currency, by the way, so you can see how excited I was back then. But mind you, before then, I had been involved in a lot of community and educational work, boot camp. For example, Dami mentioned that I met at a Django Girls boot camp. After Django Girls, I had taught at, I think, two other separate boot camps. I had taught at one in university, and then I had organized so many community events in school. Like, in school, people had started to recognize me as the tech guy, right? So that was really interesting. I miss my community days sometimes, but so I've become a little bit versed with education, especially for developers, right? Developers looking to learn, right? And so when I got that gig, I wrote my first article, technical article that I got paid for, and it was good. And I think a couple months after that, the same people reached out to me and asked me to write a couple more articles, and I did that, and I started to get better at it because the writing I had been doing at the time was my personal writing. I'm writing this thing, nobody's really seeing it. Even if you see it, that means you came to my blog. But this one was something that was reaching thousands of developers. And I wrote an article once that reached so many people. A lady from Korea reached out to me on Twitter that she has a newsletter, front end newsletter. She'd love to translate this article to Korean, and she was asking for permission. I was like, okay, my article got so far that it reached Korea. I was like, okay, that's good, right? But what I'm saying is to say, I had put in some reps in writing these things and creating these articles, and then I had a short stint at a company called Mirror World where I worked with the developer relations team. I worked on documentation. I also worked on newsletters, blogs, and I worked on tutorials as well. I wrote a lot of articles there as well. And, I had done all of this. And at the time, mind you, I was still writing code, right, actively. But I started to feel like, as I started to improve at this, and it wasn't just a matter of I'm just writing. I also took courses, right? I took the Google Technical Writing course. I also took some courses on Udemy just to try and improve my writing, and it translated. But as I got better at this and I continue to work on my craft, I started to enjoy it more than traditional software engineering because I felt like I was reaching more people with the stuff I was writing. Just like I mentioned, I reached somebody in Korea that eventually translated an article of mine. But I felt like I was reaching more people. I was helping developers and whatnot. But also, just like Dami stated in the beginning of the call, I have a unique style of writing, like the way I kind of merge things together and storytelling and whatnot. And I had done a podcast for years at that point, right? For I think 2-3 years at that time, and I started to feel, what, I think I can start to create content, with this because I'm a software engineer that has worked in the industry, but I also know how to communicate ideas and whatnot, right? I have interesting ideas that I know how to communicate. And that was when the thought started to kind of like just sit in my head. And I think at the time I had also finished a course, right? I'd gotten a proposal contract gig to like do a course, right? So I did my first course where I was on screen, right? If you look at, I've done, I think I've done 4 courses now. So let's just say 3 extra courses since that time. But if you take a look at that first course and my most recent course, you can tell how much improvement
Yeah.
has happened between that time because I've taken the time to reflect and just try and improve. One thing about me is that I never think I'm competing with my environment, right? I always think I'm competing on a global scale. Like
Yeah.
mentally I'm always thinking, I'm making something that people in multiple countries are going to watch or are going to see or are going to read, and not just Nigeria. right? And not just Nigeria. So that is the kind of approach I take towards my content. But all of those events are the things that made me start to consider and think, should I actually try and put more time and effort into creating content? And then I had a very serious battle with myself where I was like, but I still want to write code. I'm an engineer. Come on. This is for every single engineer out there. I think no matter what, you're going to have this conversation with yourself. You're going to feel like, I still want to. But the truth is, you can still write code. Like currently, I still write code, but I don't just do it on a production scale. Like, for example, I'm working on my personal website, the version 2 of my personal website, and I'm writing the code for it. I'm not asking anybody. I also had a side project that I started, and then I asked a couple of friends to, help, but I wrote the initial code for that side project, right? But like in the words of the great PC Timmy, I watched a video from PC recently. Reinvent yourself as many times as you can. If you feel like you're in a stage in your life where you are more comfortable doing something and you think there's a lot of growth, there's a lot of potential upsides to doing a certain thing, right? Reinvent yourself. Like, do not make it. There's no, you're not bound to any profession. Nobody's going to come to you and say, "Oh, what are you doing? You cannot leave the software engineering bond." And you're like, But I still write code whenever I get the chance to, or if I want to try out a new technology. Because if you're writing tutorials, right, or you're writing blog articles, or you're creating courses, the truth is you have to understand that technology more than the average person, because you are teaching this thing. So all the places where the technology falls short, or the places where it fails, you have to be able to explain why that is happening. So sometimes I even think it's a little bit more difficult now to teach and create content than to write code, because if AI writes code for you and you push that to the web and it's working, it all works. Your users don't care whether you use the for loop or a while loop, like as long as it works. But like if you ask AI to explain something to you and AI hallucinates, and then you bring that rubbish that AI has given you and you teach it to the people that are listening, what is this dumb guy talking about? Right? So it's an interesting journey. I still take a lot of the knowledge I got from actively writing code to creating content, right? And also I try to stay in the loop of things, because a lot of my content is kind of tech centered. It's kind of centered around tech, and it makes sense because I've spent all my life in this industry, right? So it just makes sense for me to make that kind of content. If you saw me making cooking content on the internet, you'd be so surprised, like, what is Chuka doing?
That would be
Right?
nice.
So
Try that.
yeah, maybe, but so yeah, I still follow some newsletters, blogs and whatnot. It's just that I don't get my hands dirty as much as I used to, writing code that will go to production, except it's personal project or something I just want to try. So right now I'm still doing the content thing, and it's really interesting. I'm learning a lot. I and it's almost like getting into a new career, right? And also, just like I mentioned with software engineering, it's a grind. It's a long process. It's a grind, right? And I'm committing to it. I know that there's a lot I need to learn and pick up and stuff, right? And I am also hoping that the reward, for all the efforts is worth it at the end of the day. Yeah.
I hope so too. I hope so too. I hope so too. And thank you for that.
Thanks, man.
I want to know, have you, throughout your journey, or even getting into content creation and education for developers, have you ever felt imposter syndrome at all, trying to do this?
100%. 100%. So yeah, just like I said, I think of making content for like a global audience and not just Nigeria, right? So definitely, I fact check a lot of things. I want to know if I'm correct, and sometimes like I definitely put in more effort, right, into trying to make sure what I'm doing is I don't like to half-ass anything, right, as much as I can, right? So yeah, I definitely get imposter syndrome. Yeah, I don't think imposter syndrome is something that ever leaves you, right? But what I'll say is this: imposter syndrome gets better with reps, right? For example, the first ever article I wrote that I said I got paid for, I had never written an article, a technical article that they would pay me real money for anything. So my first thought was, do these people know what they're doing? So why are they even offering to why are they offering to like pay me for this, all of that? You get, so definitely there's imposter syndrome there, and also um on the like for the platform I wrote for, when I looked through the previous authors and the instructors there was nobody that looked like me. I'm sorry, right? I don't like to say it as anything, but it is a. I think the more you stay in the industry or just in life in general, just like I mentioned in earlier, like you grew up in Africa or Nigeria, our part of the world, and you know that to an extent you have to work. If your dad is a billionaire, your dad is a billionaire, you have to work very very hard, right? You have to work harder than others, right, to get to a certain point, right? So definitely is something that I always ask, am I good enough, right? Or you release a video and then you scroll on Instagram and then you see somebody that released that posted a video, and that creator has two cameras, the lights are the lights are crazy, they have their smoke generator and everything, and you're like, first of all, I can't even afford all of this equipment yet. Right, I'm just trying to get by with one microphone and one camera, and this is so sometimes you start to feel like, are you good enough and stuff, but just like I said earlier, everything gets better with reps, right? Everything gets better with reps, right? There's a reason, you see professionals, they do some things, right? They may be anxious at first, right? But you see probably the ones that they have played, or they have been in the game for so long, right? Because mentally they know that I've done this thing so many times, right? When you wake up in the morning, you do not think of, oh, how do I hold my toothbrush in order to brush my teeth? You've
Yeah.
brushed your teeth over 1,000 times, right? Because they know that they've done this thing over a million times, right? They know that even if there's a mistake, even if Burna Boy makes a mistake on stage, him and his band, they know how to pick it up, right? If Steph Curry, I'm a big Steph Curry fan, sorry for everybody, but if Steph Curry shoots a ball and it hits the rim, doesn't go into the net, he knows that, oh, he can already talk to himself that, oh, maybe I didn't catch it right the first time as well. And you know what's crazy? I watched an interview recently where Steph Curry, who has been in the league for 15 plus years now, I think, yeah, like 15, 16 years, he also said he gets imposter syndrome. That's a professional that has won 4 championships, right?
Yeah.
So, but the truth is, the way to imposter syndrome is what? Is self doubt for the most part, right? What's the opposite of self doubt? The opposite of self doubt is more confidence. You're having more confidence in yourself, right? Self confidence, right? How do you get self confidence? How do you get more self? How do you believe in yourself more? You have to put in the reps. You have to put in the time. You have to do it over and over and over and over again, so that your body can convince your mind that you know exactly what you're doing and you deserve to be there, right? So don't worry about imposter syndrome as much. That's my advice to people. Worry about the amount of work you're putting in for the most part. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Awesome. Awesome. Um, you heard what he said, guys. Please keep on keeping on. So
Yeah.
you mentioned the fact that as long as you are born in Nigeria or Africa, you have to you have to go extra mile to prove that you are qualified enough and all that. Being a Nigerian, I don't know if you have another dual citizenship, but I know of Nigeria. Being a Nigerian, have you ever lost an opportunity because of that?
Man, tons. I've lost a ton of opportunities because of that, but I don't necessarily look at that and let it get me down. I look at it as a motivator. I look at it as fuel. I'll give you guys a tip. I have an email label. If you don't know what email labels are, basically you can group a bunch of similar emails together. Right? So if you want to keep all your receipts together when you buy something, you can label it so that when you click on that label, it's almost like creating a collection, right?
Mm.
Bookmark, basically. I have an email label in my email, and it's called motivation. And inside that email label is all the rejection letters I've ever gotten.
Whoa.
Yeah, yeah. So sometimes I look at some things, right? So definitely I lose a lot of opportunities because I live in Nigeria, right? I wouldn't say because I'm Nigerian. I would just say because I live in Nigeria, right? Because a lot of companies want somebody that work on site. I've looked at job requirements and I've gone like, oh my god, I will be the best candidate for this, but I can't apply, or I sometimes I apply and they're like, oh, I'm sorry, because I look at the job requirement like this is me. Like when they say who we are looking for, I'm like, you're looking for me. That's me you're looking for, because I have this experience. I can definitely do this. I can, and that's just because of my location. Right? Nigeria is one of the fastest growing tech spaces or tech ecosystems in Africa, right? Which is a great thing for real. I think if you are African and you are trying to find your footing in tech, find your way in tech, and you're in Nigeria, I'll consider you lucky. Nigeria, I think they call it the Big Four. I think three other countries, I can't remember. Kenya, maybe Morocco, Egypt. I'm not sure. Yeah, South Africa too. Yeah. Nigeria is one of the places that, yes, definitely. There are a lot of people that make it out of here, make it out of this ecosystem. They, exit their company, or they get an opportunity to travel abroad and, contribute to global solutions. But the truth is, definitely, no matter the amount of hard work you do, you're definitely going to miss a lot of opportunities just because of your location, right? And I don't think you should look at that as this is such a, if you are looking to leave the country, definitely find ways to leave the country, right? So that these opportunities can be, you can have access to these opportunities better, right? I have a friend that recently left the country to school, right? And she has Amazon in her LinkedIn DMs now, right? Meanwhile, all the while she was here, nobody was texting her for those kind of roles. But now she said almost every week she gets a message, oh, they're hiring for this role, would you like to interview, blah 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 blah. And the truth is, there are also people that get that while living in Nigeria, but it's not as seamless. It's not as easy, right? So I don't mean to be a preacher of doom or anything. But when I say the odds are stacked against you, it's just that if you take a look at the maybe top 10, top 20 global companies in the world, right? You realize that a lot of them are from Europe, America, right? That's where they have their HQ, right? We had Microsoft in this country for a number of years, and they've packed up shop. Like the Microsoft engineers, there's no Microsoft engineers in Nigeria. I don't think that's a thing anymore, right? And sometimes it does not look so inspiring. Does not look like something you should look forward to, right? And that's why, I'd employ everybody to, if you are working, if you are training, if you are upskilling, try and do all of that in a way that you'll be able to compete globally, and not just they build fintech, or this person builds fintech products for Africa or for Nigeria, whatnot. I'm not saying that's not great. That's great. But if there's a way you can compete globally, so that when the time comes and you go to these other countries, or the ones that they have the really big tech presence, tech ecosystem, and all of that, you make yourself known. Like they recognize you. They're like, oh, this person is not just a Nigerian, right? They will not sideline you to the side. They will know that, okay, you are a very, very important member of the organization. So yes, definitely I've gotten a bunch of rejections because of my location, but I look at it as fuel, and I also look at it as motivation for me to keep going and just keep improving. Be so good they can't say no. I don't know who wrote that book, but it's something that I have. Yeah.
It's nice, nice. What is the one mentality you had before that has shifted, that's changed and currently shaping your life right now?
One mentality I've had before. Are you saying, is this something that I still follow till today,
Something that
or
changed. You believe
something
that,
that's changed? Oh,
yeah,
okay. Okay.
now it has changed.
Oh, well, for real, I think, and for the most part, I still kind of am, right? But I used to really, really be a perfectionist, right? And now my mentality now is done is better than perfect. Done, like when something is done, is better than when it's perfect, right? Because the thing about perfectionism is, if you want a painting to be perfect, you can paint it for 50 years. How long did it take them to complete was it the Mona Lisa? I'm not sure.
I don't
Well, there's
know.
a painting that took the artist so long to complete, right? But it's a mentality that took me a while to settle with because I'm such a big perfectionist, honestly. Like, if I make a list of things that I want to happen, and even one of them just has comma, I'll lose my mind. I'll be like, oh no, why me? Right? Because I want everything to go according to plan. And the truth is, life isn't always like that, right? So you have to actively tell yourself that this is what I want to accomplish, and it is by this time I want to accomplish it, right? Always give yourself a set time, deadlines and whatnot, and just go for it, right? Wherever you stop at that point, you have to be confident enough to tell yourself that, look, I put in my best, and this is where I got to. Like, I gave it my all. I gave it my all, and this is where we got to, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with it being done than it being perfect, because you basically cannot improve on what you don't start. You can't iterate on something you've not started, right? So if you want to have all the resources, you want to have all the things figured out at the moment, at that time, it's almost impossible, because you have to start something. Just start is another mentality I have. That's like the cover of my LinkedIn, the header of my
Yeah.
LinkedIn profile, right? Because you just have to get started. You just have to get started. You're going to make plans for forever. If they give you 50 years to make plans, you keep making plans, right? But just one day get started. One day get started. Another thing I am seeing these days, and I kind of hope people move away from, is so many people are afraid to suck. They are so afraid to be bad at things, and it's not their fault. This is a culprit. This is a culprit. You open this phone, and you go to, say, Instagram, Twitter, or whatever social media platform you use, and everybody's photos are so well edited. They're so well done. The video is so edited. Like, in fact, you could put it up for an Oscar. You could put a 15-second reel up for an Oscar, and it will probably win, because they've taken, the people that have posted these, they've taken so much time in making sure it looks so aesthetically pleasing and whatnot. But behind the scenes, you don't know how many bloopers they had. You don't know how many times they failed. You don't know how long it took them to create something like that. You don't know the entirety of their process, right? And because of that, someone sees something so good, and because they cannot replicate something like that, they're just like, you know what? I'm not going to do anything at all. So people these days, they are so scared of being bad at something at first. They're so scared of sucking at something at first. And I think it's a mentality that people have to, get away from, because everybody that you see, the person that you see that is, doing all these amazing things, there was a time they were also terrible at it. Right? I don't believe in someone being great right from the jump. Like, everybody has to work on their craft. So done is better than perfect. Just start. You have to start always. And don't be afraid to suck at something. So I think those are the three mentalities, three things shaping my mindset right now.
Wow, awesome, awesome. And being a Nigerian, and you need to work extra compared to others, don't you think, like, I might want to look perfect, the whole perfection kind of vibe?
Yeah.
Do you get
I
me?
understand. I understand. But here's the thing. If you so you know how people say sometimes, like how people say they learn on the job, right?
Yeah.
Right? There's no way you will learn on the job if you don't do the job. You have to make those mistakes. So, for example, two of us start a YouTube channel, right? And you post every day for the next 30 days, right? Your videos are not great, right? My videos are also not great, but they're way better than your video. Like, they are not perfect. They're not crazy, right? Because take note, we both just started, so we're also both learning, right? But I'm taking so much time to learn, edit, to make sure that my video looks okay, right? At the end of the day, you've posted what? 30 videos in 30 days. I've posted one. Do you know that you are going to learn more in 30 days by posting 30 videos than I am going to learn, right? This is another thing that I talk about, putting in reps. I mentioned that at the beginning of earlier in this call. You have to put in reps. You have to show up, right? But also, you have to know that it's a grind, right? The reason you're making 30 videos in 30 days is you know it's a grind. You know there's so much you need to learn. You know that you are not there yet. So you are you keep posting and improving. Now, this is where people are going to make a mistake. If you post those 30 videos in 30 days and you don't improve on anything from day 0 to day 30, you're not like, maybe I can add subtitles to my video, or maybe I can make my lighting look like this. So sometimes, a lot of times, people do not go back and reflect on what they have already done. They don't look for improvement, and that's a problem. You always have to improve. But the truth is, because you are putting in the work and you're, putting in the reps, and you're going ahead and doing it. If I take 30 days to make one video, just one singular video, and say it's maybe 30 seconds long or 15 seconds long, you're going to learn and know way more than me. Yeah. Right? So the truth is, yes, you are Nigerian. Yes, you are trying to get ahead in life, and you're trying to make sure that you compete on a global scale and whatnot. But the truth is, perfection is going to come on the way. It's going to come on the way. Perfection will just one day meet you. Like, how far you've actually put in the work. Congratulations, here's your perfection certificate. It's not going to come when you wait so much. So you actually have to make those mistakes, because if you do your first, if you're a sculptor and you do your first sculpture and the ear of that first sculpture is not right, and you do another sculpture, you would know where to edit that ear the next time. That, okay, I didn't carve it well. Okay, let me carve it like this time, right? And then before you know it, you've perfected the ear. You move on to the next thing, you've perfected the eyes, right? Maybe by your 15th sculpture, you've perfected, a full human being. The hands are correct, the eyes. So you have to put in the work. Most times when you see all these big YouTubers and you see all these, celebrities and whatnot, if you can, please go back to one of the first things they ever did. If you can, you'll see how bad it was. Yeah. So if you can't go back, but imagine at that point they said, okay, I'll just wait till I can make something good, and they did not make music, or they did not come out to play football, or they did not come out. It will just be disastrous. By the time they make something else, you'll be like, okay, what has changed? Yeah, exactly.
Thanks, man. I think everybody should just do it, right? Just
Yeah,
like that.
just do it, man.
So, any book? Do you have like a book that you've read that changed the way you see life, the way you see engineering, the way you see content creation? Like, what book have you read lately, or not? Might not even be lately. Might be before.
Yes, so it's not lately, and I feel like this book probably gets recommended a bunch of times because it is just that good. It has sold over 1 million copies, I think, right? It's not completely engineering related, but I think it applies to every aspect of your life, right? The book is called Atomic Habits by James Clear. If you've never heard of Atomic Habits, or if you've never read it, please read it, because Atomic Habits sets a precedent for getting things done. Like every single thing we've talked about on this episode, in this conversation, is getting things done, showing up to work, right? Putting in the work, being part of the grind, just doing your part as a human being, as an engineer, as someone that wants to get better, as someone that wants to compete, right? And some of the times, people think showing up is giving 100% every single day, and that's not the case. That's not completely true, right? Sometimes it's giving 10% today, showing up tomorrow, giving 50%. But I think I think something that everybody should have at the back of their mind and in their hearts is, I want to go to bed every day knowing that I gave it my best shot, right? I tried my best, I pushed to the best of my ability. Atomic Habits preaches that, right? About habit formation. Habit formation is not something that you wake up and you just say, okay, today I want to maybe go to the gym every single day. Right? Habit formation is more around processes. This is cliche, and a lot of you have heard it a lot of times, but your processes, the things that you put in place for your process, right, is what is going to determine your outcome, right? Your success is not based on your outcome. It's most times based on your process. So if you say, I want to go to the gym every single morning, right, what you have to do is you have to make that decision easier for you. You have to make it more visible. Whether that means putting out your gym shoes the night before, so that when you're passing, you see your gym shoe, right? Or putting out your outfit or making sure that your alarm wakes you up by a certain time and all of that. So the things that you put into your process, if you want to get better at something, if you want to sleep earlier, if you want to eat healthier, right? If there's a route you pass, right? If there's a route you pass back home, right, that has a shawarma spot, stop taking that route, right? So there's so many things you can do.
I don't know where to pass.
There's so many things you can do for yourself, right, to make to make that outcome a reality, right? And it
Hmm.
always comes with improving your process, because the outcome is not something that is going to, and that's why I said, motivation is not always going to be there. But if your process says by so time, no matter what, right, I'm at the gym, yeah, you're going to be there, right? And these are things that we all know, and sometimes we don't always apply it. Even me myself, I don't always apply it, but I know 100% that that is the route to achieving whatever you want to achieve, right? So yeah, for sure, if you haven't read Atomic Habits, please read it. It's a bestseller for a reason, and a lot of very successful people have also praised the book as one of the best books on habit formation ever written. So check it out.
Awesome, awesome. One thing you don't know about David actually is, I don't know, but he's in love with basketball. I don't know.
Yes, I am, man.
You're in love with it. Do you love other sports?
I don't love any sport as much as I love basketball, actually. But I watch other sports. I watch football now. I didn't always used to watch football,
Yeah,
but
I
I
saw
watch football
recently you
now.
posted something on that. I'm like, whoa,
Yeah.
what changed?
Yeah, a lot of people were surprised. I watch football now. I met a friend that convinced me to start watching F1. So I'm watching this F1 documentary. Hopefully, when I'm done, I can go and see the movie and try and follow up with the games, with the races. Sorry. I also want to try and get into tennis, but I think I'm a big sports guy at the end of the day, because I played basketball as a kid in secondary school. I still play today, but not competitively, or not. Back then I would actually play to win games, and but now I just play as a hobby. But I think a very big factor for my love for sports and basketball is there are a lot of things you learn in that training ground, or on the basketball court, or on the football field, that you can never learn in class, right, and a lot of that, for the most part, translated into my work, in tech and whatnot. Teamwork, discipline, perseverance, right? Finding a way where there's no way. You're down 10 points. How do you come back from 10 points, right? You start making better decisions, right? Decision making skills, communication as well, right? How do you tell your teammates to pass the ball without it sounding like you're rude? And a lot of people don't know that. A lot of people just think it's sports. It's not just sports. The truth is, it's not just sports. There's a reason why sports is such an effective tool in youth development. Like any country that is serious with their youth development or youth program, they have to incorporate sports, because sports teaches you so much. Sports teaches you so much as a person, right? If you play sports and you don't learn anything from sports, then you failed playing that sport, even if you win all the accolades, right? So there are just a bunch of things that I learned while playing basketball that I just know for a fact that I couldn't learn it in the classroom, because teachers will come to class and it's straight to business. We're doing further maths today, ba 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 ba. When they're done, they leave the class, right? But there are so many things that had to happen on the basketball court that applies to real life, like winning games and losing games, right? If you're somebody that has never lost a game ever, the first time it happens to you, maybe you lose something, you lose an opportunity or whatnot, you will crash out, because it's not a feeling that you're used to, or it's not something that you can say, okay, I understand what this feels like, and I know how to get back up from this, right? So that is why I'm a big sports person, but especially basketball, because I played basketball as a teenager and stuff competitively. Yeah.
Thank you for pointing out the things you learned. And I think a lot of people need to get into sports, even me.
Yeah,
I watch
definitely.
football. I seldomly watch football. I don't know, once in a while.
You should try and watch
Anyway,
basketball. It's a fun sport.
I'll try. Don't, not promising. Unless you want to take me through the whole tutorial. I
No
don't know.
worries, no
I
worries.
think
Don't
it's
worry
kind of
about that.
complicated. I'm sorry. All right. So tell us how to reach you. How do we reach you if anyone listening wants to reach out to you, to ask for some materials from you to learn or whatnot?
Okay. Yeah. I'm very reachable. I would have just dropped my website link, but it's still currently under construction. But I think the easiest way to reach me now, it may be Instagram, which is funny. Saying Instagram is 2025 because I went so long hating hating on Instagram, but now I'm posting more videos. You can reach me. You can reach me on Instagram, I think. So I have a personal Instagram is David underscore Chuka. No, sorry, that got suspended by Mark Zuckerberg. You can reach me on Instagram at davidchuka.me. Davidchuka.me. That's also like my website. This thing, but it's not live yet. But davidchuka.me. You can reach me on Instagram. I would reply your messages. You can send me questions or whatnot. And then I have a bunch of social links where I post videos and I make content. I'll probably give that to Dami to include in the show notes. But on Instagram is made by David Chuka. YouTube is David Chuka at David underscore Chuka. On TikTok, I think it's just David underscore Chuka as well. Right. So there are a bunch of links where I post videos. So if you watch my videos, you could also reach out to me, maybe in the comments, or you can send me a DM. And I'm always happy to help, especially if you are someone just trying to find your way in this crazy space that we call tech.
Thank you so much, man. I really
Thanks, man.
appreciate
This
you.
was fun. Yeah.
This was fun. Absolutely fun, man. Great catching up. Thank you so
Yeah. Same
much.
here, man. Same here, man. Thank you so much for having me.